Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening and good night, I should say, as Mr. Chabal Tadras, media manager from Oz Arab Media, is joining us from Sydney, Australia. Thank you, Chabal. You'll be formally introduced by Dr. Sunita Ranjan. I first of all want to thank all of you who have joined today, because today is an open forum for the public. So other than our participants, there would be our friends and family and other people who would be joining, because this is a very important session. So thank you all for joining the online session on the media resilience today. This online course has 42 participants, as Sunita said, and she's given you a brief. This is for the others who have joined. I truly appreciate your positive spirit and commitment to joining, especially on a Sunday, a day when many of us would be relaxing and recharging ourselves. So thank you all for coming, and let's make the best use of the next few hours together. Welcome once again. And now I'll call upon Dr. Sunita Ranjan, the course director of the online personal resilient course, to introduce our first speaker of today, Mr. Chabal Tadras. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And so welcome, Mr. Chabal Tadros. Something about sharing about his profile. Mr. Chabal has harbored a passion for reading and writing from a very young age. A graduate in BA in English Pedagogy from the Lebanese University, and he further honed his academic pursuits with a master's degree in education, focusing on special education from Notre Dame University. In his professional sphere, Chabal stands as a dynamic figure. Among many ventures, he is the co-founder and media manager at Oz Arab Media, the creative force behind Brand Plus Solutions as its founding director, and the driving spirit of the Australian International Multicultural Association, Inc., where he serves as the founding president. Chabal has made his mark as a publisher, author, and a TEDx speaker. He remains actively involved in various local and international organizations, contributing his expertise, time, and insights to the Sydney Autism Community, Lions Club, the Australian Lebanese Football Association, among others. Adding to his diverse portfolio, he is also a co-founder and publisher, a testament to his commitment to the literary world. So a very warm welcome, Mr. Chabal, and over to you.
Thank you, Sunita and Priscilla, and thanks everyone for being here. So before I start, I'd just like you to know that if you have any questions at any point, just because there's a lot of us, so we avoid interruptions, write them in the message in the chat box on the side, so that I answer them whenever there is a gap or a time, or if I'm going to answer them throughout the course, then we don't have to go through them over and over. So our session today is divided into two parts. The first part is about building resilience through understanding personalities. In this part, we're going to discuss the different types of personalities and how they work together, how to identify them, and how to help each one of them build a form of resilience. The second part is about building resilience in the world of media. It's about understanding the different ways that media can, in a way, mislead us, so that we can be more equipped to deal with media stories as they come and not let them get to us. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the first part of the course. As I mentioned before, it's based on my book, which is Embracing the Spirit Personality. This book, if anyone's interested, is available on Amazon and Kindle. You can just either look up the title or look up my name, and you'll be able to find it. The idea is that what we're going to be doing in this course is, first of all, we're going to be learning how to recognize the different personality types, how we can develop the spirit personality by integrating the positive traits of each personality element, Then we're going to work on gaining practical strategies for building resilience for each personality type. And finally, we're going to reflect on personal insights and plan actionable steps to enhance resilience. Now, let's start with a bit of a small activity for you guys to work on. We're going to be doing a personality assessment. So on your screens, you'll be able to see the link, which is elementpersonality.com. So this website is a personality assessment that
कहाँ
I've
दिख रहा है?
1 minute. I think Sunita, Viraj has to share the screen. We're not able to view the screen.
Yeah, Viraj?
Oh, you're not seeing my screen?
Yeah.
No, we are not able to see your screen.
Oh.
How come?
Okay.
Viraj, what is the...
No, I gave it.
Try again.
Now only we are able to, yes. Now we are able to.
It's
Yes.
working now? Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was working. Okay. So that link, elementpersonality.com. If you want, you can do that now. Otherwise, we'll do it again at the end of the session. You can do it at any time. The link will always be available. So the idea of that quiz, there's two things in it. For those of you who have the paid version of ChatGPT, I've recently developed an online AI assessment for personality, so you can make use of that. For everyone, if you just go on the website, there's a questionnaire. You answer the questions, it will give you a detailed percentage of each type of personality that you have. Now, based on the work of Socrates to start, and he called them the four humors. And later on in the 1800s, there's an educator called Rudolf Steiner. He worked on the work of Socrates and also developed something called the four temperaments. These temperaments, or these humors, as Socrates called them, they are based on the elements that exist in nature. They are earth, water, wind, and fire. So if we take an example from nature, let's say if we look at a rock that is in the middle of the ocean. Now that rock, it's the element of earth. If we reflect on it, we will see that the earth is stable, unmoving, unchanging, rigid. But if we wait thousands of years, its form will change. And that change is because of the movement of the water around it. So that water will slowly but surely carve its mark on the element of earth and give it a new shape. Then the water itself, what makes it move is the power of the wind. So the wind that's blowing on the ocean is what makes the water move. And finally, the movement of the wind is directed by the heat from the sun. Heat is fire. And that heat, when the wind is hot, it rises. When it's cold, it falls. And this is what makes the wind element move. So there is always a connection between all four elements. Now we're going to go deeper into how these reflect on each person's personality. Starting with the earth. As we mentioned, the earth is like the rock. It's a rigid element. It doesn't change much. And also like planet Earth, it's very deep. So people with the earth personality, they are usually deep thinkers. They tend to philosophize over everything. They tend to make everything very a thought process. They are very practical people. They try not to waste their time or their energy on something that they don't like, unless it's something mental. So they prefer to think more than actually act. And then when they act, they prefer to act on something that they are sure is going to bear result. And they prefer stability. They don't like things that change. They prefer things to stay the same all the time. So with a person like this, the strength that he or she will have is that they will be thoughtful. They will think about things from lots of different angles. They will be philosophically very well equipped. They can deal with very analytical, very high thinking processes, and they will have a very strong memory. So if you hurt an earth person, they will hold a grudge and they will never forget it. Negatively, or for challenges for such a person, is because of their depth, because they think too much, they are usually socially withdrawn. They don't have too many friends. They don't like to interact with people much. And they are almost always pessimistic. They will challenge any idea, especially when it's to do with change. So if you come to an earth person and tell him to do something a different way, the answer will most probably be no. It will take a lot of time and a lot of patience to get an earth person to change their mind or to go from a no to a yes. For the water person, they are usually very calm, very patient. So just like the element of water, unless something is disturbing it, it will just stagnate. It will just stay in place, do nothing, keep moving in the same flow. So they are very patient people. If you give them something to do, they will go on and on and on and keep doing it until someone else will come and tell them to change, or unless they hit a barrier. If they hit a barrier and they can't move on anymore, that's when they will stop. They won't try to fix it. They will stop until someone else comes and fixes their problem so that they can continue. So the good thing about the water person is that he's very reliable, very loyal, very dedicated. If you trust a water person to do something, you know that they will do it. They are very organized. They like to be systematic about things. They like making things flow in order. And they are usually very calm. They don't get angry very quickly. Their challenges is that they are sometimes excessively slow. They take their times doing things because they like to do things their way. They have difficulty adapting to new scenarios, as we mentioned. They like structure. They like the structure that they have created. They don't like to change it. And also, they tend to be, as we said, because they are excessively slow, they are sometimes lazy, especially if they, as we said, they hit a barrier. If they don't know how to change things, how to fix an issue, they will just ignore it. And they will just leave it, make someone else come and solve it later. For the wind person, they are usually very energetic, very happy people. A wind person will tend to have lots and lots of friends, but not many deep relations. And they are very positive. They always like to try new things. They always like to be friendly, helping people, being around people. So this is their main strength, which is social skills. Socially, they are brilliant. People will love them very quickly, and they will feel at ease with them very quickly. They are adaptable in social situations. So when something changes, they can easily change with it, like the wind element. It's going left, then it's going right. It doesn't matter. And they trust people very quickly. So sometimes they might be too trusting. Their challenges, unlike the water or the earth, where they have good memory and they have good structure, because they are very unstructured, they tend to also be very forgetful. So with a wind person, you have to keep reminding them when you want something from them. And you also need to learn to deal with their superficiality. They have lots of friends, but they cannot build deep relationships with people. So today you're their friend, tomorrow they don't know you, the day after you're their best friend. It changes very quickly. For other people, this can sometimes be very tiring. So understanding that this person is a wind person and that's how they behave is one of the ways to be able to deal with them. We're going to go into details with that later down the track. The fourth personality is the fire personality. Now, just like fire, it knows no barriers. it will burn through it and just keep going. They are very dynamic. They are very assertive. They will always try to make you do what they want. They have natural leadership skills, so they are born leaders. Put them in a group, they'll be on top, and they'll make the group do whatever they want. This is because they are very decisive. They can make decisions very quickly, sometimes without analyzing, but they try to make the decision very quickly so that everyone can move on. They are very self-confident. They know who they are, and they know what's their worth, and they use it very well. And they are very loyal. So once you prove that you're a good person to them, their loyalty is unwavering, and they will support you as much as they can. Their challenges is that they are very quick to be angry and very impulsive. So they will do anything without, they will do lots of things without thinking, and they will get angry very quickly, but they will also calm down very quickly. And another thing about the fire person is that to make their description easier, they will make the rules, but they will be the first ones to break them. So this is the main description of a fire person. So with these 4 personalities, as we saw, each one has strength and weaknesses. By putting these strengths and weaknesses together, and in order to overcome the weaknesses, then we can move on to access something called the spirit personality. Now, the spirit personality, it's a personality that you would rarely find in people. Usually, people have a mix of, based on my study, the majority is 2 persons, 2 personalities. So they could be, let's say, fire and wind, or earth and water, or wind and fire. So most people would be a mix of 2 personalities together. You'd rarely find someone who is just wind or just earth. It's always a mix of something with something else. A little less so, you would find 3 personalities with kind of balance in a person. And very, very rarely will you find a person who can easily move between the 4 personalities. These are what we call the spirit persons. A spirit person is a person who has the leadership skills of fire, the communication skills and social skills of wind, the patience and the dedication of water, and the philosophical and wisdom, the philosophical depth and the wisdom of the earth. Now, a person who has these 4 criteria together is a spirit person. And that person can effectively adapt almost everywhere. So if, let's say, in a group, there is no leadership, and yet there is someone who is a spirit person in the group, that spirit person can take the place of a leader. Or if there is a group with a good leader, but there isn't anyone to actively do the work on the ground, that's where the spirit person comes in and takes the personality of water. Now, as we were saying here, the spirit person embodies the strength of all personality types and integrates the spirit, the positive traits of everyone together. With this, we need to understand something very important, which is that with spirit personality, it's not a personality that you just reach and that's it. Yes, I'm a spirit person, I'm done. No, it's not like that. With a spirit personality, it's an ongoing process. It's a process that keeps on going, because let's say you didn't have leadership skills at the beginning. You developed them from the fire personality. You have leadership skills now, and you're using them. Then let's say you change jobs, and in your new job, you're not in a leadership position. You develop another personality, but what happens in that time, if you're not using your skills actively, these skills will start diminishing over time. This is why it's very important to reassess yourself every now and then and see, okay, what's happening with my personality? Is it changing? Is it going up? Is it going down? What do I need to focus on? And then put yourself in a situation where you challenge yourself to redevelop that personality and to keep it alive in yourself. That's how you keep the spirit personality going. Now, the main part is building resilience. This is what the whole course is about. So this is what we're going to go into now more deeply. Now, for the earth person, as we said, this person is rigid, does not like change. So if you assess yourself and the majority of your personality traits are earth personality, then you know that you need to work more on water traits. The water traits, mainly flexibility, that's the main thing that you need to work on, which is flexibility, becoming more flexible. This is what combats rigidity. And then if you work on strengthening your social connections and focus on positive reflections, it becomes more and more geared towards becoming a spirit personality. For the water personality, you need to find inspiration. The water person is a very uninspired person, is a person that lacks drive, is very flexible, can do anything you put them to, but they need to be inspired by someone, and that inspiration is what gets them going. So as a water person, if you find yourself in a ditch or in a place where you feel like you're doing nothing, you're stagnant, the best thing to do is to find inspiration. Finding inspiration can be through a movie, through a new book that you read, through putting yourself in a new, let's say, a charity or volunteering in different projects that helps you develop yourself. For the wind personality, there is an abundance of inspiration, but the problem is that it's, as we said before, very chaotic. So the best way to grow out of it is to develop focus, is to find one goal, focus on that goal, and reach it. Once you do that over and over again, this is how the wind personality starts developing fire traits. And then one of the things that we discussed before is emotional connections. So the wind person needs to find people that it can become loyal to, it can really love at a deeper level. And with that emotional connection, they will start becoming more balanced. For the fire person, as we said, this person has an abundance of self-confidence, and sometimes it borders on arrogance. The best way to work on it is to start developing humility. Yes, that might be very difficult for some people, but it's something that that every fire person needs to work on, because that is the next step towards spirit personality. The spirit personality recognizes the value in every other personality and how to make each personality work with the next. For the spirit person, as we mentioned before, keep adapting, keep integrating your strength, and become more empathetic, understand other people. Once you understand them and you harmonize between yourself and everyone else, you keep improving, you keep your spirit personality alive, and with time, you can hopefully help other people get to it as well. So, in general, what we discussed is that we have the 4 personalities: earth, water, wind, and fire. And once we put their positive traits together, we reach the spirit personality, which is a kind of a perfect personality. This personality is very adaptable. It works, it can replace any other missing personality. It needs to be continuously developed. So we need to understand that personality is something that is not set in stone. It's something that is flexible, something that changes due to different environmental factors. And once we recognize them and once we recognize what kind of personality we have, we can evolve it. And with the spirit personality, sky's the limit. You can do anything that you set your mind to, because you'll be able to take leadership of it. You'll be able to actually communicate it well to other people. You'll be able to do it yourself, and you'll also be able to challenge the idea and say and find out how you can fix it, how you can make it better, and repeat the cycle over and over again to keep making it better and better. With this, I'm going to start taking questions from you guys. So any questions that you have, let's go deeper into the discussion and make things interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah, friends, please open up and ask your questions. A very interesting start we've had right now with these 4 elements. And I know each of you would have consciously, subconsciously assessed yourself and fallen into one of the categories of the elements. But ultimately, Chabal said that, all of us have our own weaknesses. So the moment you read the weakness, you say, oh, it's not me. And then you jump to the other. So it's nice to know about the spirit personality and to work towards the spirit personality. I request the participants to just throw up questions and have any clarifications. I think Chabal could do it now.
Yeah, and if you would like to, sorry, if you would like to do the assessment,
Jason here. Is it okay if I can speak?
Yes.
Yes.
I won't be able to type. Is it all right if I can ask the question?
Yeah. No, the floor is open for questions. So go ahead.
Yeah. I'm Jason from Bangalore, India, and my question is, in the part of the introduction, we spoke about the media, and so with the present barrage of media, especially with lots of negative and fake news and shocking news, how do we fit or align these personalities to that?
The media is going to be the second part of our presentation for today. But in general, to answer your question, the best way to work on to use the spirit personality in order to combat fake news and everything that you mentioned is to develop what we said in the Earth personality. It's a challenger personality, so you need to develop an analytical mind, a way to assess every information that you get, believe nothing before you've actually read it in 2 or 3 different places and really understood what the actual issue is. We're going to go a lot deeper in that in the second part of this session.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure thing.
Hello, Mr. Charbel. Thank you for that. I just wanted to ask you quickly. Thank you for sharing the 4 temperaments, 4 personalities. I personally relate to more of a water personality, but after doing the elementpersonality.com quiz, it says that I'm a wind personality. And I just wanted to ask, you mentioned that sometimes when people are water personalities in a ditch, that they should find inspiration, or where they wait for someone else to get them out of that ditch. Me feeling like a water and a wind personality, what would you suggest to people who are not quite a spirit personality, but halfway in between, trying to find inspiration or get themselves out of a ditch?
Good question. So each personality has different traits. Even if you're a wind person and you have water traits, it doesn't mean that you're going to fall into the same type or the same character. So it depends on what you see yourself doing. But in your case, as you said, you are a wind person and you see also that you have water traits. The best thing to do is to develop the opposite traits, which is to go towards fire and earth. So if you, I would suggest you start maybe going deeper into some philosophical, religious, or self-help texts to develop more of your wisdom and your understanding of how the world works, or how actually how your mind works with the world. And then also one thing that you probably might lack based on your assessment is leadership skills. So find something that you really believe in, that you think you should be changed in. Start with your environment before you go into the outer world, and develop a plan to actually change it. Once you do that, start with small things. Don't go into, like, let's say, don't go into battling world poverty. No, go more towards something like say changing the light bulb that you have been leaving for the past week. So start with these small actionable steps, and one after the other, you will slowly start developing that leadership personality, first for yourself, and then you can start sharing it with the world.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone else?
Hello.
Yes.
Thanks for your session, Dr. Chabal. And this is Swaminathan from Dubai. I want your feedback and your thoughts about where someone who go into too much of analytical and also sharing and gathering too much of information, and someone struggle to transform the analytics and the knowledge gained into the actions. What would you suggest and advise in this case?
So such a person is typically either water or earth, or a mix of these two. What I would suggest is to develop what's missing, which is wind and fire. First of all, start by opening up to other people. Start by working on your social skills. Build a bigger circle. Make your circle bigger and bigger. Get more connections. Join some groups, some, let's say, volunteer groups, different social organizations that can help you do something in the world. And eventually you'll find something that you would really like. That's where you can start developing your fire skills, which is your leadership skills, by taking charge of a small project and then moving on from that. In that way, your analytical skills would actually find real life use, where the project that you think of, all the things that you've analyzed, you can actually action them. But at a certain point, the breaking point for you to break out of your shell is impulse. So it's making the first decision. Start by making that first decision, and then everything will fall in place one after the other.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's amazing. Thank you.
Sure.
Should we move on, Chabal?
Up to you. Does anyone have anything else to say?
Any more questions? Could you take a couple of more questions, or anybody else?
If the profession and the personality traits are contradicting in some way, say for example, a person in marketing profession, but his personality traits are, like not that much socially connected, and I think how to achieve the balance.
What happens in that case usually is, if you last long enough in that job, you will develop the skills without actually noticing that you have done that. This is something that I've seen in a lot of people, where they look at themselves 2 to 3 years after I first met them, and after they changed the job, they notice that their personality has dramatically changed, but they have no idea why. So because you are in that situation where your job does not coincide with your personality, eventually your personality is going to start developing to be more in line with your job. Now that you know more about your personality, and you know more how to align them and how to develop them, you can actually put yourself in more challenges where you have to develop the personality that you will need for your job without actually losing your initial personality, but by actually using the positive aspects of the personality that you already have to enhance the new personality that you want to develop.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Thomas here. Thank you, Mr. Chappell, for your information and the four type of personalities. I would like to ask you a question. If a person has a value, some kind of a set values in life, it might be religious based, or it might be the kind of parenting the person had. So, if someone take advantage of that person because of his values, how do we handle that? For an example, some person has a value of not lying. Okay, but people take him for granted. So how do a person get help? He has to hold on to his value, but at the same time he has to kind of understand the kind of difficulties he's going to face just because he's being very loyal.
Look, Thomas, what I see here is that it's not actually a conflict between values and personality. It's actually the main issue is knowing that you're being abused or you're being used for your values. Your values should not change unless you are presented with something that makes you rethink them. And in that case, yes, you should change them. But if you still believe that, no, this is how I want to live, this is my life, and that's how I want to go through it, then you should not change them. You should you should understand other people and understand that some people will tend to abuse you. Once they do, you just understand them and move on. You don't need to trust these people again. I mean, there is nothing in your values that say, oh yeah, I will keep trusting a person even if they lie to me or even if they abuse me. I don't think that's a value. If that's a value, then it should change. But if that's not one of your values, then keep being kind, keep being good, keep believing in your values. And when people tend to betray you, give them a limit. Don't become an enemy to them unless necessary, but just put them in their own kind of corner. Don't give them more than they can handle.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anyone else? All right. Should we move on to the next?
Yeah, we can move on. Yeah.
Yes, we can move on, please.
All right. Let me get the second slides. Here we go. I'll share them. Are you seeing them?
Yes, we are able
Yes,
to.
we can.
Yes, we can.
All right. Great. All right. So in this part, we're going to be talking about media resilience. We're going to understand how media works and how to critically evaluate it. As Sunita and Priscilla mentioned before, I am the co-founder and media manager of Oz Arab Media. We're an online news platform. So we cater news from all over the world, and we also cover lots of events within Australia and also overseas. So my background is actually, as mentioned also, is in education. I kind of grew into media with time. It's something that I liked, but I've never done. And then a few years ago, I started doing it, and it actually kicked off really quickly. So first thing I want to share with you is this very interesting and eye-opening quote. It's from a book called The Sword of Truth. It's a fantasy novel by Terry Goodkind. He says, People are stupid. They will believe a lie because they want to believe it's true or because they are afraid it might be true. So if we think about it, when someone comes to us and tells us something, let's say about another friend, they will say, for example, oh, yeah, this person is doing drugs. Say, big revelation. Either we believe it, at first, we're going to believe it because the person coming to us, I mean, if we trust that person, we'll take it at face value. If we don't know the person who's telling us this, there is a very high chance that we might believe that. Because if we like the person they're telling us about, we're afraid that it might be true. And if we don't like that person, then it would be interesting if it were true. So if we analyze the media through that perspective, then media is a very strong and powerful tool that people have been using for hundreds of years to manipulate populations. And once we understand how it works and how to critically analyze media through that perspective, then we can really start kind of untying the lies that are spread almost every day. So we have a lot of media challenges that we see. So we're going to start with something that that is very important for any democratic country. So one of the main tenets of a democratic country, it's the freedom of the press. Now, what does the freedom of the press entail? It entails that journalists should be able to report on whatever they need to report on, and that this information should be shared with as many people as would be interested. But how much freedom does the press really have? Sometimes a journalist is not able to gather information simply because it's beyond a barrier that they cannot cross. That barrier could be physical, where they can't really go into a building and find out what's happening, or it could be political, where, let's say, the journal or the newspaper that they are working for is with or against a certain political party, that then they cannot write or they cannot investigate that party, or it could be in many different ways. So there are limits to how journalists work. That's if we're talking about honest journalists who really want to do their jobs. But in a lot of cases, unfortunately, we have reporters who are just after the next big story. And then we get into the next question, which is, where should that freedom of the press stop? Should reporters be allowed to actually say whatever is on their mind? Should they be allowed to report on everything? Where does it stop? And the last important part of the freedom of the press is the accountability of the press. If a journalist reports on something that is incorrect, are they or are they not accountable? This opens a whole can of worms for us. If we hold the journalists accountable, then they cannot report on everything because they will always be afraid of getting something wrong. If we say they are not accountable, then we open the whole idea of fake news, people being able to do whatever they want and say whatever they want with no fear of consequences. So as we can see here, there is a lot of danger when it comes to sharing information or disseminating information through the press. We also ask the question of, if that information is shared, let's say someone discovers, like in the idea of WikiLeaks, a journalist discovers that the government is hiding some potentially important information about a national security threat to security. Should that reporter share that information, or should they keep it hidden, because if that information is shared, it might compromise ongoing investigations by the government. And who do we trust in that case? So as you can see here, I'm just going to be asking a lot of questions, and slowly we're going to work on untangling them and answering each one separately. But at this point, I'm more interested in putting these questions out there so that we can all think about them. And then we're going to open for a big discussion. And something that also enhances the difficulty of the media is the digital age. Now, with one click of a button, we can share information with millions of people all over the world. You've seen how viral news goes. Sometimes you see a post that's been shared millions of times. So now we have the danger of getting information quickly to a lot of people who cannot really analyze it. And that information, if it proves that it's wrong, fixing that mistake down the line is going to be very, very, very difficult. Like with COVID, for example. At first, when COVID started, it was all about the 5G networks. It was all blamed on 5G. And then it took governments, it took them months to combat that idea. And then we had lots of other new misinformation campaigns, and we still have some. So all of this makes the job of a journalist very difficult, at least the honest journalist, and very complicated. Now, once information is shared, there's a lot of ways that it can be distorted, it can be broken, or it can be rendered fake. For example, the first thing we're going to talk about is something called sensationalism. Sensationalism is when someone gets, there is news, the news is right, but the headline is way too exaggerated. Like, for example, let's say we get that a lot of times. You won't believe what that person, what that celebrity has done. That's the headline. If you like that celebrity, or if you don't, you're gonna be curious. You're gonna want to find out what he's done. And then when you open the article, it's like, oh yeah, he went to this restaurant and he met that person. So this is sensationalism, making things larger than they appear. The second form of distortion is called bias. Bias is reporting news based on what you believe in. It's based on the party that you support. For example, we can say, here's what the liberal government has done, or things that negative things that the liberal government has done in that situation. So the article would be reporting about a certain situation and what's happening with it, but assigning the blame to a political party. Whether that blame is right or wrong, we cannot know, but it shows the political bias of that person. Any self-respecting journalist will not report it as anyone asking something? Okay. So when reporting news, we should try to always avoid bias, and we should be able to recognize it. So when a headline or an article is attacking a certain person or political party, or religious organization, or company, or let's say, for example, we get a lot of attack on big pharma or lots of different organizations, there is a lot of bias there. So this is something we also should be aware of. The last part, which is also very important when it comes especially to social media, it's echo chambers. Echo chambers are where and the information is used to reinforce something that you already believe in. So let's say, for example, I got some headlines here, one sec. So example, why our community always stands strong against government overreach. So it's someone believes that the government is overreaching, And they're using this article as an echo chamber to make people who believe that the government is overreaching read their work. We can also we can find lots and lots of examples in that case, like, for example, why we must continue to support our party's vision for a stronger nation. So this is an article meant to be read by people of a certain political party so that they can keep voting to the same people without actually questioning what's happening. So this is echo chamber. And the problem with the echo chamber is that it's tremendously enhanced or sped up because of social media. So we're going to go deeper later on and talk about the algorithm of social media. But this algorithm makes echo chambers much more important to pay attention to. So when we want to interpret media content, when we get an article and we want to actually go through it, we need to know which sources to trust. So let's say we get an article from the New York Times. The New York Times is known for being well-researched, for having enough supporting arguments, by being peer-reviewed, all of that. So we know that this source is reputable. So this is the first thing that we need to look at, which is the source reputation. And then we need to look at factual accuracy. We need to see if whatever is claimed in that article is supported by evidence. Well, we need to see if, okay, it has the source of the evidence is there. We need to see that, let's say, they have a study that they based their information on. They have actual years. They have actual events, actual quotes, actual testimonials. All of that, we need to find it there. If it's not there, then the article is mainly either an opinion article or just hearsay. We also need to check the context. So lots of stories can be taken out of context. Let's go for example, for the Gaza issues that are happening now. If we look at it from the perspective of the Israeli government, then on October 7, the Palestinians attacked them first. But if we look at it from the Palestinian perspective, then we can see that also there has been aggression from the Israeli government before October 7. And we can keep going back and back and back for actually hundreds of years. This issue has been happening. So we need to understand the context and not be led by whatever first article we read. And we need to also look at the complexity of the situation. If something seems overly simple, then there's something wrong. Like, for example, if we say, oh yeah, fossil fuels are causing global warming. It seems too simple. The issue is much more complex than this. There is a lot of factors that go into global warming. It's not just fossil fuels, it's fossil fuels and lots of other things. So if an issue is overly simplified, then we need to raise the red flags and do our own research. So this takes us into the evaluation criteria. We need to cross-check facts. When someone says, oh yeah, this happened on that day, we need to go see if someone else reported the same thing. We can't just take it at face value. We need to make sure that, especially when it comes to important events, like let's say, for example, this country attacked that country. If we read that article in one journal, then we need to check, okay, is everyone else reporting it? If it's something very important, then it should be somewhere else as well. If it's just in one place, then it's probably just someone making up stories. We need to look for multiple perspectives. We can't just read a story from one point of view, especially when that story is very bias-oriented, when it's with a people against another, with one person against another, with one issue against another. So we need to see an issue from all the different perspectives that we can muster, so that we can understand what's going on in reality. And we also need, as we mentioned, assessing the credibility of the sources. So the information that we read, we need to get it from sources that are credible. And we need to make our own lists of credible sources, but mainly they are the ones that when they report something, they are supported by facts. They are supported by context. They give you a whole idea. But even if it's from a credible source, we need to make sure that we cross-check it against something else. We need to make sure that it's factual. Now, when we want to overcome overcome media-driven social pressure, so especially like what we've seen recently, a lot of people, when they believe in something, they will start campaigning for it, and they will start reading only what they like about it. If someone writes against it, they automatically discount it as fake news. That is not the case. When the main thing that we need to build for ourselves as resilience, it's that we don't take anything at face value. And our own beliefs could be the first things that are misleading us. We need to think that, okay, I believe that this is true, but it's not necessarily the truth. I need to double check my facts first, double check my beliefs first, before I can start sharing what I'm thinking of or what I believe in. So let's go into, as we discussed before, we're going to go into the algorithm. In social media are not charities. They are businesses, and they are huge businesses at that. They make tons of money. And how do they make their money? From advertising. If they sell ads, they make money, they are happy. Now, if I want to place an ad on social media, what do I want from that ad? I want to get clients. I want people to see it. I want people to interact with it. What do? I pay the social channel, let's say Facebook, for example. I pay them to show people my posts. Now, with millions of people using Facebook, if not billions, I think, yeah. What will happen if I just pay, let's say, $20 to boost a certain post? It will get exhausted in seconds. So what do? They do something called targeting. I decide that, okay, I want this post to be seen by people who are aged between 30 and 35, who are male, and who work in this sector, and who follow that page, who follow these people. And so I can narrow my targeting as much as I want, so that only the people who are actually interested in what I'm sharing will see it and will interact with it. So that way, the money that I'm spending goes in the right direction, doesn't just get blown showing my ad to people who don't care about it. This is what is the algorithm. What happens is, with Facebook and other social media, they will see that, okay, you as a person, you have a profile. You get lots of things in your feed. Lots of these posts are ads or sponsored content. They will see that, okay, fine, you have interacted with that post. Let's say it's about global warming. You liked it. Facebook will record all that information that, this person interacted with that post. That post is coming from that page. It's about that topic, and it contains that type of information. Okay, so that person likes these things. They will show you that content, similar content, later on, the next day, or even the same day. What happens is, if you interact with it, then that reinforces the information that they gathered about you. If you don't interact with it, they might try to show it to you again later down the track and see if you're going to interact or if you actually missed it by coincidence. With the thousands of posts that we see every day, imagine the kind of information that they know about us. They know more about us than we know about ourselves, because unconsciously we interact with different posts without knowing it. Just by looking at a post, even if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. Just by reading it, it shows Facebook that you are interested in it. It will show you similar things. If you read them as well, whether you like them or not, it reinforces their understanding of you. Now, when it comes to news, or when it comes to especially political news, you will start getting information that you believe in, or that you are more geared towards believing. And this is what we discussed before. This is what we call the echo chamber before. Social media is showing you what you are more likely to interact with, and that's how they can make more money. So once you know this, then you can start building your own mind schemes to double check everything that you read, not take it at face value, not share it before you actually investigate it. So moving forward, what I would ask you to do is that whenever you read news on the internet, don't share it unless you've read it in different sources and made an understanding of it. Once you have an understanding of the different aspects of that issue, then write about it by all means and share your point of view. Because then your point of view is not only helping you become more resilient against fake news, but it's also helping more people understand the different ways or the different perspectives of the same news that they have read. So to become more resilient against the media, the first thing you could do is a media detox. Take a step back, stop interacting with any news for however long you think you should do that, be it a day, be it a week, be it a month, up to you. You decide how long you want to stay away from the media. During that time, work on enhancing your analytical skills. Work on the strategies that we've discussed. Start critically engaging with the news. Whenever you get an article, look for the facts. If they are there, double check them. Then look for the bias. See if it's with or against something. And if it's with or against something, which is anyone's right, make sure that the information that it's providing is enough to support that argument. And then check if there's the opposite as well. If it's with something, then there is someone else who's against it. Check why. And we also mentioned cross-check information. Check if that information is available in different sources and it's the same information. And also do your best to maintain a balanced view, to maintain a way where everything that you read or you watch, you don't believe at face value, that you say, okay, fine, this is what they are saying, let me see what someone else is saying. If it matches, perfect. If it doesn't match, do more research. Find out the truth. And with this, this is where I finish what I have to say about the media, and I'm ready to take on questions.
Mr. Chabal, very beautifully you have explained about our role, how consciously we have to develop the skills, build resilience, and face the and with whatever information we get in the media. So now, any participants, anybody who has got questions, may please ask. You may use the chat box also, or you could. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chabal. Thank you very much for that. It seems that you have really thoroughly researched and broken down social media driven news. What I wanted to ask is, you spoke about recognizing media bias, which side it's leaning. Sometimes it could be like left or right leaning. Um, how do you, could you give some suggestions on how to recognize? I feel that from a younger point of view, when I see social media bias, I almost instantly recognize it. But whereas my mum's generation or my dad's generation, they're so vulnerable to um, any kind of information they get through social media. They take it at face value. I know you said that me personally, I would like cross-check and, fact check all these things before believing what it is. But how would I then explain it to the older generation who may not immediately cross-check?
Look, that's a very important question and very difficult at that. And it's probably one of the biggest problems that are facing media in general. I would say that the best thing to do is to try to talk to them slowly, because it's going to be difficult to do it very quickly. And don't share the quote I shared at first with them, because they're going to be offended. So just try to get that message across. Don't look, the best way when it comes for someone who's resisting you is to reinforce what they believe in and slowly introduce new information. So start by asking them, okay, fine. What do you think about this news? Why do you think it's right? Have you read that this person said this, this, and that? Start slowly introducing opposing information. Use the water personality that we discussed before, and carve into that rock slowly and slowly and slowly. Eventually, hopefully, you will be able to get to a point where they will doubt themselves, where you create that that dissonance, where what they believe in and the truth that they are seeing in front of them is different. And that will hopefully open their eyes and make them start reanalyzing whatever they're getting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, Jeevan, I would like to refute what you said about the generation. Generally, we can't generalize saying that the older generation go by face value. They're very vulnerable to the media and all that. It depends on the situation, the profession, the exposure, again, the personality trait. Because we have seen a lot of youth who also by face value become so vulnerable and emotional. So I would like to give my perspective that it is not a particular age or a generation who's getting vulnerable or get carried away by the news, but it all depends on the family upbringing, the values, the personality trait, the experiences, the exposure, a lot of other things. All the variants together would make a person. It could be a youth or a child or an elderly. I've seen 80 plus or even an 87 who's so cognitively sharp and not at all vulnerable, and they question and challenge the media so much. I have personally met, and even yesterday, I saw a very senior chartered accountant who's 83 plus and who could just surpass all of us. So it is more focused towards, I think, it's a personal experience you're talking about. So it's my sort of a response to what you said. The Chabal's perspective is also right, and I just wanted to refute that part of the older generation who's being, going by face value. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. That's very thoughtful, and as well, yes. The way I answered before works for any age. So usually what I find is people who are more of a wind character, like high winds, they are the people who will fall into fake news traps more quickly. And that's because they are more emotionally driven. So once you give them something that has some emotional charge in it, they will act without thinking. And by building the slow analytical skills, that's how we can combat it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. And just my feedback on this is mainly it's two parts. One is the personality traits, what you explained, how they wanted to deal with it, how they take it forward. This is the first thing. And the second thing about the social media, mainly if you look at the current trend, I see that every individual should be more accountable or just to feel more responsible on what they are sharing. Because as you exactly mentioned and discussed and briefed about, you should analyze the factual the things about the media, what we are seeing. And if you are not comfortable, if you are not sure, and we have to stop sharing it because we see this in this as Dr. Priscilla mentioned about it, not about the age, it about the people mindset. Yeah, I received it, I just share it without looking into the factual contents and what are the consequences it can bring. And this is people's mindset and also comes with the personality traits. Thank you.
Thank you, Malapi. Yes. Look, about accountability, the thing is we can't really make people accountable. It doesn't happen overnight. We have to slowly kind of build it into the world. And the best way to do it is that if whatever someone is sharing on social media is something that falls into the fake news traps, then if we don't interact with it, if we don't share it, they will know that, oh yeah, people don't like that stuff. They're not interacting with it. We don't reinforce it with them without actually creating problems with them. We just don't share it. We just don't interact with it. And by doing that, they will hopefully start questioning themselves first and then moving on.
Mr. Chabal, I just have a question. Could you like kind of throw some light on media literacy and education maybe in your country? Like, is it actually being taken in a very structured way? So maybe some, this media literacy could kind of help individuals to be more, focused, and in that way we would be able to be improve our analytical skills and be more, able to receive our information in a better way. So would love to hear the thoughts which is from your side as on this.
So regarding media literacy, it's actually part of critical reading and critical learning. The fact that we teach our students to, when they read an article, to find the bias in it, or to find the whatever else falls in it as well. When we teach them to look for these things actively in articles or in texts, slowly we build it in them. Unfortunately, and this is something that I've noticed a lot with lots of the students I worked with, what they learn in school, they don't apply in real life. And this is something that we need to keep talking about, keep helping people find out. And courses like the ones that you are working on, this is what we need to keep people seeing. Unfortunately, it's something that's very slow going, but just the fact that we are doing our part, we are learning what we want, what is important now. Slowly, we can help other people also see it by getting other people to join this course, the next installment of it. It will help a lot. And yeah, and as I said, just you start by doing your own part, which is don't interact with news that you haven't double checked. And we can get there. It's going to take time. And unfortunately, fake news and what we call clickbait is very trendy and makes a lot of money for advertisers. So this is something that's not going away, and we just need to equip ourselves with the shields to fight against it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much for that.
Chabal, one question from my side. You spoke about the media detox. When you say media detox, would you also include digital detox, because now the news is all in our mobile. So if you say media detox, we only sort of detox ourselves when not reading the news, or we have to just give away all the digital, medium, so that we are actually detoxing ourselves from the social pressures, any sort of an information. How do you, is it synonym, the digital detox and media detox, or how do you differentiate between these two?
Look, this media and digital, they're mainly very similar. And it would depend on each person. So for some people, they media detox means just getting off social media for a while for others, it's giving up devices for a while. Some people cannot give up their devices just because of work issues or family issues. They cannot just leave their phone at home and leave. Others can do that. So it would depend on your own situation. You need to be able to identify what is causing you that stress. If it's the social media that you're interacting with that's making you angry, that's making you stressed out, then stop that. If it still doesn't work, then try to stop more things, and maybe put your phone on do not disturb and only call back people you actually want to listen to. So it would depend on what you want. I cannot give you one recipe that fits all.
So should we also have some sort of a filtering process? Because I can't be without a WhatsApp. As you said, I need to get in touch with my child. I need to call. So, okay, the news flashes when in a WhatsApp I get a message. So you feel this filtering process is like, I just don't read it, or I just say that, some sort of a defense mechanism we evolve personally, so that we could, because as you say, we can't be without the digital mode, because this is a digitized world now.
Yeah, look, with the people who share a lot of news with you, just put them on mute. You will see whatever is showing up, and you will actually be able to read maybe the first line, see what's going on. And if it's something that is personal, then you read it. If it's just news, you ignore it until you actually have time for it or want to read it. So just, yeah, each medium has its own ways of dealing with it. For WhatsApp, for example, it would be putting people on mute for a certain time.
Okay.
So you don't get the notifications.
Thank you, Chabal.
Sure.
Anyone else would like to ask any questions, any clarifications?
Look down the line. If anyone has any questions for me, just feel free to email them. I shared my email before, but again, it's info. I'll put it in the message box. So if anyone wants it, they can just reach out to me.
Thank you, Mr. Chabal. Thank you. It's been such an enlightening talk, and it's been a pleasure to hear you impart your wisdom on spiritual personalities and media resilience. I just have one final question to ask you before we end. What is your personality trait? What is your temperament? And do you believe that you are a spiritual personality, as in an encompassing factor of all four temperaments?
I almost always get this question. So I was waiting for it. So initially, my personality was water, which is also part of my being autistic. I have Asperger's syndrome. So part of it is also in my personality, which is water. I put my mind to something, I get it done. But yeah, I needed a lot of leadership, and believe it or not, I needed a lot of work on social skills. When I discovered the personalities, I was already becoming a teacher, so I was kind of developing my fire and wind personalities, which I lacked heavily. And once I learned about the personalities, I started working on everything else. I started rebalancing my personalities. I would say that I have the traits of a spirit person, not completely there yet, but as I said, you can never be completely there because it's a continuous work in progress. It never stops. And once it stops, then and the personalities, they start developing themselves. One becomes stronger than the other. You start losing skills. So I always put myself in situations where where I find something missing. I put myself there and I try to work on it again. But I try to stay aware of my personalities.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
I think Grace has a question. The first one is on media literacy, which Sunita has asked. The second one, Chabal, this is from one of the participants. How does media-driven social pressure influence individual and collective behavior? And what steps can be taken to resist this pressure while making informed decisions?
Well,
should I repeat?
No, it's fine. It's fine. We've seen how it influence. I'm going to start with how it influences people as groups. We've seen a lot. Like again, I take the example of COVID. When people started being forced to vaccinate, whether with it or not, a lot of people took to the streets based on information that they read online. Now, that information was never shared in any reputable newspapers. Like, let's say, for example, here in Australia, Daily Telegraph, the Sydney Morning Herald, all of those, they didn't share any information that the government did not approve regarding COVID. But the internet was full of things, and then people started getting together and going to the streets, and they caused lots of havoc. They broke down things, and a lot of them ended up in jail for a while. All because of what they read on social media, and they did not investigate. They did not go through the process of how things happened, and we got a lot of people who are self-proclaimed experts on vaccinations. And once you go into this person, you realize that they have nothing to do with medicine. They understand nothing about it. And a lot of them, unfortunately, probably did not finish school. But they read something online, they rewrote about it, they sensationalized it more. People believed it, and it was a snowball. So on the individual level, as I said, this person just read something, rewrote about it, sensationalized it, affected another person and another person and another person. This is how it affects one person, and that person affects the group. The best way to work against it, as we mentioned throughout, always cross-check. Always check where the information is coming from. Whether you know that person or not, check where he got the information from, whether it is supported by evidence or not. Check if there is someone else who is a reputable source, an actual doctor or an actual expert or researcher in the field who really seconds that and then talks about it. Then it's something that you can action. Otherwise, it's something that you need to just stay away from. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, Grace, hope you're okay. Grace, are you there?
Yes,
you happy with? Yeah. Hope he's answered to your query, and if you have any further clarification, you can ask him directly.
Yes, it's clarified.
Thank you, Chabal.
No worries. Anyone else?
Thank you, Chabal, for your insightful talk on both topics, on personality traits, and then you talked about media content. I just had a question for you in Australia, how does it work about, when the media is spreading fake news? What are the ethical considerations around that? How does it work in your country? You talked about freedom of speech and you talked about, how far could it go? So I was just wondering, that if there is fake news being spread or if the news is incorrect, what happens on that front?
Usually, what happens is, let's say, for example, they're spreading fake news about a certain person. That person has the right to take the newspaper to court for defamation. And I've seen this, it happens a lot, and the price is very high. Like I personally know someone who did that. The news reported something that was fake about him, and he took the newspaper to court, and he actually got them to pay him around $200,000 just for putting his name where it shouldn't have been. So the legal system here is quite robust when it comes to these things. So everyone is double checking their information before sharing it. Now, online, I don't know if you've seen it, but recently they started putting a fake news label when something is not right. I think that's something really good that social media is doing. Let's hope it actually bears fruit down the line. It's still in its early stages, but that's another thing that's happening worldwide, not just in Australia. But in Australia, as I said, the legal system is quite robust when it comes to that.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Chabal, I'm Sunita. I have a question with regarding to your personality types on the previous part which you were discussing about. Yes, you talked about the different, the wind, the water. Suppose we understand what type of a personality we are, and we are aiming to go towards the spirit personality. So it is a conscious, it is like a 24/7, it's a conscious effort that we take. And I mean, how long, do you have any statistics or any research where how long does this take on this progression to move from one to the other? I understand it's very individualistic, but I mean, any information or any inputs on that?
Time-wise, I cannot really tell you because it would depend on how active you're taking a role in it. But and as I also mentioned, it's always a work in progress. So you cannot really stop doing it.
Okay, it's a work in progress. Okay.
Yeah, so once, let's say you want to develop leadership skills and you put yourself in a leadership position, the project ends, you have developed the fire personality, you know how to access it, but if you don't access it for another year or two, you're going to lose it, just like with everything else that you do. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Sir, I have one more.
Yeah.
Apart from detoxing, what all strategies can be employed to critically assess and filter media content in order to minimize the impact of distortion and misinterpretation or misinformation on public perception?
Are you asking this from like what you can do or what should be done in general? Because the way I understand your question is you're trying to see what the news, the outlets or the newspapers can do to battle misinformation, or are you asking about what people like us can do to battle misinformation?
From the public perception.
So from the public perception,
apart from detoxing.
Yeah, apart from detoxing, the best thing to do is, as we mentioned before, double check it. And if you think that something in it does not make sense or it's too biased, too simplified, there's something that's not really complete in it, don't share it. That's all that you can do from your end. Don't share it or if you want to actually go one step further, do your own research, write your own article, and share that. So in that way, you are sharing your research, making it easy for other people to avoid this misinformation.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
I had one more question.
Yes.
That is regarding the personality traits. So I took the test, and in the test, I was shown as a wind person, though I think that I would fall somewhere between a water and an earth person. So in the 4 personality traits, the breakdown which is given, then you have certain percentage assigned towards all the personality traits. So I was wondering that the highest percentage is assigned, you're assigned that you have that personality trait. I was wondering that if it's a spirit personality, would all your personality traits be, say, about 25%, or how does it work?
Yes. So, Melissa, the best way to read this is to first see which one is the major personality that you have. Let's say, for example, you have 40% wind. If it's 40% wind, that means you are a very high wind person. If it's, let's say, between 25 and 30%, then you are still a wind person, but there is something else that you are strong in as well. So I've seen a lot of people who have, let's say, 26% wind, 24% water, and these mixes. So this means that this person is not just wind, it's more wind and water, because their percentages are very close together. That's why once you put in your email address in the test and get the percentages, it shows you what they are. So it helps you know what are your strongest and what are your weakest personalities.
Thanks.
Sure.
Chabal, I'd like to add on with this. See, we spoke about the traits, strengths, and challenges of each element. So we say the traits are more constant in the person. We're all born in a way, a particular personality trait. So suppose somebody is water element, a personality is more of a water orientation with a trait element, percentage of 70 to 80, then how do you think it's easier for them to change to another wind, fire, or earth if the trait part is very strong and stubborn in them? If it's going to be challenges, then it's much easier to work towards the spirit or towards the other element. But if the trait is 80% melancholic, the earth part, how do you think is it easier for them to change to the trait of another wind, water, or just the challenges and strengths could be changed to the other elements?
No, in that case, what would happen is when they are at 80%, it means they also have a lot of the negatives of that personality. The best way to start is to choose one of the negatives, let's say being stubborn, and start working on becoming less stubborn. In doing so, this is developing the water personality. So by decreasing the effect of the the negative traits of their personality, they start developing the next personality in line.
Okay, so it's mainly focused on the negativity of each element. Otherwise, they're not going to change. If it's a good part, or because you said Earth is also deep thinker.
Of course.
So if it's 80% deep thinker, then they can continue that and work only on the 20% of the negativity, which could be converted into a strength.
Yes, that is the thing. So you don't want to change the good things about you. You want to change the bad things, and that's how it should work. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, Sunita, you wanted to ask something?
Oh no, Anjali.
For a mother or a teacher, if we want to encourage a high school level student for, towards a spirit personality with all the positive things into it? Where to start?
The best thing to do is to kind of build it into your lesson plan. So in the activities that you are giving your students, make sure that the activity itself addresses all 4 types of personalities. So an activity should have a thinking component, so an analytical component where they will be encouraged to use their brains to critically think about the topic. It should also include a part that needs time and patience to achieve, maybe like a project. It should contain a social component where they can either work on a group project or talk about it in class with the other students. And it should also contain a leadership component where students are encouraged to do something with the information or with the lesson that you've given them in a larger scale, let's say class-wise or class-wide or school-wide.
Thank you. It looks, what you said is applicable for a structured environment. If it is for a informal at-home environment, for a mother to encourage a high school student, where to start?
Start first by assessing the person, by that student, seeing what personality they are in. Make a list of their positive traits as well as their negative traits so that you can place them in their personality element. Once you know that, address the next personality in line. So let's say, for example, when you assess them and they come out as let's say a wind person, work with them on developing their leadership skills because it's the next one in line. It's the easiest to develop for them. Once you do that, then go back to the beginning and start helping them develop their analytical minds. Get them to read more interesting information, more into spirituality and self-help. With teenagers, it's kind of difficult because it's teenagers, but find out what they are interested in and try to build these criteria into the activities that they are interested in. Let's say they are interested in sports. Other than actually just playing that sport, get them interested in reading more about it, understanding its history, learning more about the strategies of that game, how it happens. So these develop the different criteria that they will need to enhance their personality and reach the spirit personality.
Thank you.
Mr. Chappell, what will be the Thomas here? Mr. Chappell, what will be the right age to take this test to evaluate?
I would say 14 and above.
14 and above. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because at that age, the personality is more or less clear, but it's not rigid enough. So if a child understands their personality at that age and they start working on developing the spirit personality, it's much easier for them to achieve it down the line than for a person who is, let's say, 60 years old and wants to work on it right now. It takes more time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Will you suggest some kind of plan to work on for a profession-based development?
Yeah, and this is a very long question to answer, but because you have to develop a plan based on each employee's personality as a start, and then move further from that personality. So if you're really keen on that, I would suggest you get a copy of my book, because I've kind of set out how to do it in a work environment for each personality, and what like a plan to do it.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
Chabal, have you finished with all our slides?
Yes.
Okay. So then we can keep the. I request all of you to do that personality assessment so that you can have a clarification and a dialogue with the Chabal. I think it hardly takes around 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And what's the time duration of the assessment? Yeah, please, all of you go to the link on the first slide.
I have done it, and then I found out I am in the water personality.
I've done it, ma'am. It's fire personality.
Okay, all of you have done it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Veeraj can just show the first slide, the link.
I'll have to go back to the previous one.
So whoever has finished, do you all agree? Because it's not that whatever input we get, you just sort of agree. You can even refute and, say that you can have a dialogue and challenge that it is not the exact version, or whatever is your opinion. You can share like that.
Yeah, 100%. As I think Melissa asked, so the result that you get is going to show you a percentage of each personality. In some cases, it's going to be very close together. So it's going to show that you have maybe 30% of something, 20 of something else, and then less of the others. So your goal is to try and get as close as possible to 25% in each, so that the personality is balanced, and then to try to keep that ongoing.
Okay. And do we have an assessment for the spirit personality? You said we have to work towards it. Have you also developed any sort of a personality assessment where we actually finally fall into the spirit personality? Have you developed a tool?
Once you can get between 23 and 27% on each personality, then you are effectively a spirit person.
Oh, okay. 23 to 27 of each element.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. I hope everybody got that. You sort of reach your spirit personality when you attain like between 23 and 27% of each element. That's the earth, water, wind, and fire.
Correct.
Anybody like to give feedback on Chabal's both sessions on personality and the media resilience? It's open. Whatever the lessons learned, the takeaways. I request two of you to just give a very a detailed feedback, so that you'd also
you make it better for next time.
Sunita?
Yes, Jeevan?
Thank you, thank you very much. No, that was incredibly enlightening. I don't really have any criticism for you to improve next time, because I thought it was perfect.
Thank you.
And you come across as a very, very well-read person, very respectful, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking your time out. I know you had 3 other sessions to do today, and it's nearly midnight for you, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll definitely be pondering over everything that we've gone through today in my own life and trying to figure out how to become a spirit personality. So
That's
thank
good. It's good. And everyone, please feel free to find me on social media, reach out. I'm always available.
you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeevan. Anyone else who would like to give a feedback?
I too like to give a feedback.
Yes, Carolyn.
Actually, I am working in the educational department, and it was of great use for me to have informed me about the different personalities. Now I think I would be in a good condition to evaluate my students, whether the child is a water or a wind or a fire. It was really a very good session on students' personality.
That's good. That's how it started for me.
That's what. And I too, I feel I'm a water there. As a teacher,
water
yes. As a teacher, water is the thing that humbles all characters together. But one thing I fear, when I'm going to deal with all this fire and wind and so on, will water have the same consistency of water in the end session?
No, consistency would keep changing if you're trying to, work on the other element. That's why Chabal said 23 to 27% of each is more than enough.
The main goal is to keep the positive aspects of the water. You want to keep the patience, you want to keep the dedication, but you want to get rid of the negative aspects, which are the laziness and the aloofness. So you want to decrease these and increase the positive, or keep the positive aspects of any personality.
I think in another way, I can say we have to be resilient.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
Resilient.
Yes.
When you're going to deal with all this wind, fire, everything, we've got to have the resilience.
Yeah, by accessing the spirit personality and knowing how to respond to every personality, then you build resilience, and you can also help your students also become spirit personalities and resilient personalities.
Sure. It was really a good session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sunita.
Yes, ma'am.
We will try to close so that we'll give them a 10-minute break.
Yes, ma'am.
For the next one. So I would like to just thank Chabal. I have to really thank Emmanuel, my brother, to introduce such a wonderful, eminent person who've been sailing through the course from July or even from the inaugural. Chabal is being there with us constantly, chatting, sending his slides and actively involved, though we just offered him one session of today. So I want to really extend my heartfelt thanks to Chabal on behalf of the Center of Excellence in Health Psychology and all the participants, the Madras School of Social Work, for your very insightful and engaging sessions on personality and media resilience. Despite the late hours in Sydney, I think your dedication and enthusiasm have truly made a lasting impact on all of us. Thank you so much, Chabal, for sharing your knowledge and inspiring us to think more critically on this given topic. On behalf of all of us, I really wish you a good night, a very peaceful, restful sleep, and a big good night from India.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Thank you, Chabal.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chabal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chabal.
Thank you,
Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Chabal.